Part 6 of The Last Little Cat. Do you remember last time? The little cat was making its way to the 6th yard where the lady was calling for the kitty, and he was accosted by children, and then the children dropped him off at the lady's house. The woman looked over the bowl at the crying cat. "Oh no," she said, "this isn't for you, this is for my own cat." But with its newfound voice, the little cat kept crying up at the bowl. "It's meat in the bowl," the sharp-voiced woman explained to the crying cat. "It's not for you, it's for my kitty. You're still too little. You should have milk, and nothing but milk. But in this bowl is nothing but meat." She set the bowl down before the little cat to show the last little cat that in the bowl was nothing but long, stringy pieces of raw red meat, and not one drop of milk. The little cat was so hungry it bit into the meat. It tried to drag a long, stringy piece of raw meat out of the bowl. "You're a thief," the sharp-voiced woman said. "You mayn't steal my kitty's meat. To think you're still so little, but already you're a thief." The little cat went right on dragging the piece of meat over the edge of the bowl. At that moment, however, the woman's big black warrior cat came home, lured by the smell of the raw red meat. It saw a small black cat dragging a piece of its meat out of its bowl. In one swift, silent leap, without a warning or even one yowl, it pounced on the last little cat. But it really pounced on the piece of meat that the little cat was dragging out of the bowl. It was hungry from fighting all night, and it wanted its meat. It did not care about little cats. It cared only about eating red meat and doing battle with big fighting cats. But the big, black, battle-scarred cat looked so mean and fierce, the last little cat dropped the meat and scooted away from the bowl. "That's what you get for stealing my kitty's meat," the sharp-voiced woman called back the little cat. "That's what you get for being a thief." The scared little cat did not listen, and it did not look back. And even though the big cat was not chasing it, but greedily eating its bowl full of meat, the little scared cat ran straight on. It ran into the yard of the 7th house, up on the porch, and to the back door of the 7th house. Beyond the 7th house, there were no more houses. There was just a field. The big field stretched out from the 7th house the way the grassy field had stretched out from the kennel barn. The last little cat did not know, but it was at the last house, on the last porch, at the last door. Here there was no thick closed door. The door stood open behind its screen door, but the screen door was still closed. The little cat reached up and stood up, and with its new voice it cried into the house through the screen door. But beyond the screen door, the whole house was silent and still. There wasn't a sound, there wasn't a motion, and nobody came. There was nobody. The little cat looked at the porch. On the porch there stood a bowl. The little cat went to the bowl, but in the bowl there was no milk. The bowl was dry and empty. Behind the bowl there lay a bone, an old dried-up bone some dog had chewed and left there. The little cat sniffed at the bone, but on the bone there was no meat. There wasn't even a smell or a taste of the meat that once had been on the bone. And the little cat sat between a dry bone and a dry bowl on the porch of the empty last house at the very end of its little cat world. There was nothing at the last house for the last little cat. Nothing except the sun. For now the sun came out to take away the cold of the night and the cold of the gray, slow morning. The sun came out to make the world as warm as a bowlful of milk again. The morning sun shone on the bone and the bowl and on the last little cat. And the last little cat was so tired from its long, hard night that he fell asleep in a spot of sunshine between the bowl and the bone. The tired little cat had fallen asleep, but the little cat was lost. It was only 7 houses and 7 yards away from the big kennel barn of the many dogs and the mother cat and the 6 kittens, but the last little cat was lost. 7 houses and 7 yards were all its little cat world. And 7 houses and 7 yards might just as well have been 7 oceans and 7 seas and 7 prairie plains to a little lost cat. But the lost little cat slept on. Oh, believe it, a man came to the 7th house, and up on the back porch, the man stopped in surprise at the door of the house to see a little cat asleep on his porch between a bowl and an old dried bone. "Hey," said the surprised man to the sleeping cat, "somebody waiting for me. That's new, and sort of fine to come home to find somebody waiting for me." The last little cat opened its sleep bright eyes and looked up at the man. The man made fond grumbling sounds in his throat and picked up the little cat. He picked up the dry, empty bowl, and he felt the little cold cat. He felt its flat, empty stomach. In the crook of the man's arm, the last little cat began to purr for the man. "Hey," said the man, "this is no time to purr. Right now, little cat, you need warmth. Right now, empty cat, you need milk. And after the milk, a long, warm sleep, for by the looks of you, you have had a terrible night." With the last little cat in the crook of his arm, the man went into the house and to the refrigerator in the kitchen. He took out some milk, and he started to pour out some milk into the dry bowl for the little cat. But then he said, icy milk for an icy cat, that will never do. Let's warm the milk." He warmed the milk on the kitchen stove. But while he warmed the milk, he held the little cat in the crook of his arm, close to the warming stove and the warming milk. The little cat purred for the man, and for the warmth, and for the warming milk, but a hitch and a halt came into its purr. So badly it wanted the milk. At last the man poured the warm milk into the bowl, and set the bowl down on the floor, and set the little cat down before the bowl. And there it was again at last, in the world, a bowl of milk, a whole bowl of lovely warm milk.